Introducing Silent Cries, a tale of resilience and redemption. Uncover the harrowing true story of Amelia and the survivors of abuse as they navigate a web of betrayal and injustice. Join the movement for change. Subscribe, like, and share their story to raise awareness and support survivors worldwide. Chapter 1: Introduction to the protagonist. Amelia Thompson sat on the worn-out couch in her cramped apartment, staring out the window at the bleak streets of Rochdale. The sounds of sirens and distant chatter filled the air, a constant reminder of the harsh reality she lived in. Her best friend, Lily, burst through the door, a vibrant ray of sunshine in their dim surroundings. "Amelia, guess what? I found a flyer for a writing contest. You should enter. Your stories are amazing." Amelia's eyes lit up with a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. "Do you really think so, Lily? I've always dreamed of becoming a writer, but..." Lily interrupted, her voice filled with unwavering support. "No buts. You have a gift, Amelia, and it's time the world knows it." Amelia smiled, her determination reignited. "You're right, Lily. I won't let my circumstances define me. I'll write my way out of this place." Chapter 2: Innocence Shattered. Amelia eagerly walked into the local community center, clutching her notebook filled with stories and dreams. As she entered the bustling room, her eyes fell upon Alex, a charming man in his late 20s. He exuded confidence and charisma, drawing people in like moths to a flame. Approaching Amelia with a warm smile, Alex struck up a conversation. "I couldn't help but notice your notebook. Are you a writer?" Amelia blushed, caught off guard by his interest. "Yes, I love to write. It's my passion." Alex's smile widened. "That's incredible. I'm actually part of a writing group here. We meet every week to share our work and offer support. Would you like to join us?" Amelia's heart fluttered with excitement. The idea of being surrounded by fellow writers and receiving guidance from experienced individuals seemed like a dream come true. "I'd love to," she replied, her voice tinged with hope. Little did Amelia know, this encounter marked the beginning of a meticulously orchestrated plan by Alex and his sinister associates. The grooming had begun, a subtle manipulation that would shatter Amelia's innocence. Chapter 3: Silent Cries. Weeks turned into months as Amelia became more involved with the writing group. Alex and his gang gradually gained her trust, weaving a web of false security around her. They showered her with compliments, encouraging her talent while subtly isolating her from her friends and family. Amelia found herself torn between the attention and affection she received from the gang and a growing sense of unease. Doubts and questions nagged at her, but fear held her captive. She couldn't risk losing the only support system she believed she had. Late one night, Amelia sat alone in her room, her thoughts spinning like a cyclone. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, tears welling up in her eyes. She longed to break free from the suffocating grip of the grooming gang, but the weight of their threats and the shame they had instilled in her held her silent. "I can't do this anymore," Amelia whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. "I can't pretend everything is okay when it's not." Her silent cries reverberated through the room, echoing her inner turmoil. The battle between loyalty and self-preservation raged within her, tearing at her fragile spirit. Chapter 4: A Cry for Help. Amelia couldn't bear the burden of her secret any longer. The weight of the abuse and manipulation had become too much to bear. With trembling hands, she picked up the phone and dialed Lily's number. "Lily, it's Amelia," she choked out, her voice trembling with fear and desperation. "I need your help. Something terrible is happening to me." Lily's voice filled with concern on the other end of the line. "Amelia, what's wrong? Tell me." Amelia took a deep breath, summoning the courage to reveal the horrifying truth. She recounted the twisted web of manipulation, exploitation, and abuse she had fallen victim to. Lily's gasp echoed through the receiver. "Oh my God, Amelia. I had no idea. I'm so sorry you've had to endure this. You're not alone. We'll find a way to help you." Together, Amelia and Lily sought help from the authorities. They mustered the strength to share their stories, providing crucial evidence against the grooming gang. However, the response they received was disheartening. Dismissed, disbelieved, and met with indifference, Amelia's cries for help fell on deaf ears. The system designed to protect vulnerable girls like her had failed them. Deflated but not defeated, Amelia and Lily resolved to seek justice on their own terms. They would expose the truth, no matter the obstacles they faced. Chapter 5: Uncovering the Truth. Amelia and Lily refused to let their pleas for help go unanswered. Determined to expose the grooming gang, they took matters into their own hands. They began researching, gathering information, and documenting their own experiences. Their tireless efforts caught the attention of Emma, an investigative journalist known for her fearless pursuit of the truth. Intrigued by their story, Emma delved deeper into the Rochdale grooming scandal, determined to uncover the extent of the abuse and the systemic failures that allowed it to persist. Emma's investigation revealed a network of individuals complicit in the exploitation of vulnerable girls. She unearthed connections to powerful figures, exposing a web of corruption and cover-ups that stretched far beyond Rochdale. As Emma's exposé gained momentum, more survivors came forward, emboldened by Amelia and Lily's courage. The media attention intensified, forcing the authorities to face the uncomfortable truth they had ignored for far too long. The revelations sent shockwaves through the community, igniting a public outcry for justice. People demanded accountability and sweeping reforms to prevent such atrocities from happening again. Amelia, Lily, and the other survivors found solace in knowing that their voices were finally being heard. They had sparked a movement, shedding light on the dark underbelly of exploitation and bringing the perpetrators to the precipice of justice. Chapter 6: A Ray of Hope. Amelia and the other survivors found strength in each other's stories. They formed a support network, sharing their pain, their triumphs, and their dreams of a brighter future. Together, they discovered a newfound resilience that stemmed from their unity. In the safety of their shared space, they began to heal. They attended therapy sessions, participated in empowerment workshops, and received the support they had longed for. Gradually, the scars started to fade, replaced by a renewed sense of self-worth and hope. Amelia found solace in the friendships she formed with the other survivors. They became her family, offering unwavering support and understanding. They understood the complexities of her journey and provided a safe space for her to open up and rebuild her shattered identity. As they navigated their healing process, Amelia and her newfound friends began to redefine their lives. They pursued education, career opportunities, and personal growth, determined not to let their past define their future. In their unity, they discovered a collective power that inspired change. They became advocates, raising their voices to break the silence surrounding child exploitation. They shared their stories, shedding light on the experiences of countless other victims who remained hidden in the shadows. Amelia felt a glimmer of hope, realizing that her journey had a purpose beyond her own healing. Together with the other survivors, she vowed to be a beacon of hope for others, working tirelessly to prevent future generations from suffering the same fate. Chapter 7: Seeking Justice. Amelia and her fellow survivors embarked on a long and arduous journey towards seeking justice. They were determined to hold the perpetrators accountable for their heinous crimes and to ensure that the system that failed them would be forced to change. With the support of Emma, the investigative journalist, they tirelessly gathered evidence and built a solid case against the grooming gang. They worked closely with dedicated lawyers who believed in their cause and were committed to bringing the abusers to justice. The courtroom became the battleground for Amelia and the survivors. They endured grueling cross-examinations, reliving their traumatic experiences in painful detail. Yet, fueled by their shared strength and determination, they refused to be silenced or intimidated. As the trial unfolded, shocking revelations emerged, exposing the depth of the grooming network and the complicity of those who turned a blind eye. The survivors' bravery inspired others to come forward, resulting in a wave of testimonies that further exposed the extent of the abuse. Despite the challenges they faced, Amelia and her fellow survivors stood tall, refusing to be silenced. Their unwavering resolve and the overwhelming evidence presented in court led to the conviction of the abusers, delivering a long-awaited victory for the survivors and a message to the world that exploitation would no longer be tolerated. Amidst the triumph, however, Amelia couldn't help but reflect on the countless other victims who may never see justice. She knew that their fight was far from over, and they vowed to continue advocating for systemic changes that would protect vulnerable children and ensure that no one else would suffer as they did. Chapter 8: Betrayal. Amelia's world crumbled when she discovered a devastating truth that shattered her trust in someone she held dear. As the trial progressed, evidence emerged implicating a person close to her in the grooming gang's activities. Confusion, anger, and heartache consumed Amelia. She struggled to reconcile the image she had of this person with the heinous acts they had committed. The betrayal cut deep, leaving her questioning her judgment and the very nature of human connections. Unable to bear the weight of her emotions alone, Amelia sought solace in her fellow survivors. They provided a lifeline of support, helping her navigate the tumultuous sea of emotions. Together, they forged a bond that transcended the pain, finding strength in their shared experiences. Amelia's journey of healing took an unexpected turn as she confronted the complexities of forgiveness. She grappled with conflicting emotions, torn between the desire for justice and the need to find peace within herself. In the midst of her personal turmoil, Amelia discovered resilience she didn't know she possessed. She refused to let the betrayal define her or deter her from her mission of creating a safer world for vulnerable children. With newfound determination, Amelia channeled her pain into fuel for change. She became a powerful advocate, speaking out against exploitation and tirelessly working to raise awareness about the grooming epidemic. Her voice, fueled by the fire of her own betrayal, resonated with others who had suffered similar traumas. Chapter 9: The Legal Battle. Amelia and the survivors found themselves caught in a grueling court battle as the prosecution fought tooth and nail to secure justice for the victims. The defense, well-funded and relentless, sought to undermine the survivors' credibility and cast doubt on their testimonies. In the courtroom, the survivors bravely faced their abusers, refusing to be silenced or intimidated. Their voices rang out, telling the stories of countless children who had been betrayed and exploited. The legal battle was fierce, with intense cross-examinations, impassioned arguments, and emotional testimonies. Each survivor had to relive their darkest moments, their vulnerability on full display for all to see. Yet, their determination to seek justice propelled them forward, refusing to let their past define their future. Amelia stood strong, supported by her fellow survivors and the unwavering belief of their legal team. The courtroom became a battleground of truth and justice, where the survivors fought to expose the horrors they had endured and bring the perpetrators to account. As the trial unfolded, unexpected twists and turns rocked the courtroom. Key witnesses emerged, corroborating the survivors' testimonies and shedding new light on the extent of the grooming operation. The walls of deception began to crumble, revealing the true magnitude of the scandal. Despite the defense's relentless efforts, the overwhelming evidence and the survivors' unwavering courage proved undeniable. The jury delivered their verdict, and the perpetrators were found guilty, marking a pivotal moment of justice for the survivors and a resounding condemnation of the grooming gang. Amelia and her fellow survivors breathed a collective sigh of relief, knowing that their fight had not been in vain. The courtroom victory was a symbolic triumph, not only for themselves but for all those who had been silenced and ignored. Chapter 10: Breaking the Silence. The survivors' stories, once confined to the courtroom, now echoed far beyond its walls. The media caught wind of the trial's outcome, and their accounts spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of the nation. Amelia found herself thrust into the spotlight as a symbol of resilience and bravery. She was approached by journalists, activists, and organizations eager to share her story and shed light on the broader issue of child exploitation. With newfound strength, Amelia stepped forward, determined to break the silence surrounding this pervasive problem. She became a vocal advocate, speaking at conferences, appearing on television shows, and engaging in public debates. Amelia's powerful voice resonated with the public, provoking outrage and sparking a national conversation about child exploitation. People were forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that this heinous crime was happening within their own communities, often hidden in plain sight. Support poured in from all corners. Individuals, organizations, and lawmakers rallied behind the survivors, demanding change. The survivors' stories became catalysts for legislative reforms, as new laws were enacted to better protect vulnerable children and provide support for victims. Amelia and her fellow survivors formed alliances with advocacy groups and worked tirelessly to raise awareness, provide resources, and advocate for systemic changes. They established helplines, support networks, and educational programs, ensuring that no child would suffer in silence. Through their collective efforts, the survivors empowered others to come forward, offering them a safe space to share their experiences and seek support. The walls of secrecy were crumbling, and the perpetrators of child exploitation found themselves exposed and facing the consequences of their actions. Amelia knew that the fight was far from over, but she took solace in the progress made. She believed that by raising her voice and standing with the survivors, they had set in motion a ripple effect that would protect generations to come. Chapter 11: Backlash and Support. As Amelia and the survivors continued their advocacy work, they encountered both backlash and support from different sectors of society. Their efforts to expose the truth and seek justice for vulnerable children faced opposition from those who preferred to remain in denial or protect their own interests. Some individuals and groups attempted to discredit the survivors, questioning their credibility and motives. Victim-blaming narratives emerged, attempting to shift the focus away from the perpetrators and onto the survivors themselves. Amelia and her fellow survivors were subjected to online harassment, threats, and attempts to silence their voices. However, amidst the backlash, a powerful wave of support rose. People from all walks of life, including survivors of abuse, activists, and empathetic individuals, stood in solidarity with Amelia and the survivors. They rallied around them, offering encouragement, protection, and unwavering support. Celebrities, public figures, and influencers used their platforms to amplify the survivors' message, ensuring their voices reached an even wider audience. Media outlets, moved by their stories, dedicated resources to expose the systemic failures that allowed the abuse to happen for so long. The support and solidarity emboldened Amelia and the survivors. They refused to be silenced by the negative voices and used the backlash as fuel to drive their advocacy forward. They harnessed the power of social media, organizing campaigns, and raising awareness through viral hashtags. As the public discourse shifted, a broader conversation about the intersections of racism, classism, and exploitation emerged. The survivors' stories became catalysts for deeper societal introspection, challenging long-held biases and prejudices. Amelia and the survivors stood tall, unyielding in their pursuit of justice and systemic change. They knew that the path they had chosen was not easy, but their resilience and the support they received fortified their resolve. Chapter 12: Empowerment and Healing. Amelia and the survivors embarked on a journey of empowerment and healing, determined to reclaim their identities and rebuild their lives. They recognized that healing was not a linear process, but one that required patience, self-compassion, and support. Together, they sought therapy and counseling, engaging in individual and group sessions to address the deep-rooted trauma they had endured. Through these therapeutic experiences, they learned coping mechanisms, self-care techniques, and strategies to navigate the challenges of their healing journey. Amelia found solace in art therapy, channeling her emotions into creative expressions. She painted, wrote, and danced, using these outlets to process her pain and find glimpses of joy. The survivors discovered the power of creativity as a means of self-expression and healing. In their journey towards healing, Amelia and the survivors also recognized the importance of community support. They actively sought out survivor-led organizations and support groups, finding strength in connecting with others who had walked similar paths together. They formed a web of understanding, empathy, and encouragement. As their wounds slowly started to mend, Amelia and the survivors focused on rebuilding their lives. They pursued education, vocational training, and career opportunities, determined to carve out a future that was not defined by their past. But healing was not just an individual endeavor. The survivors channeled their newfound strength into collective action. They became advocates for policy changes, lending their voices and experiences to shape legislation and practices that would better protect vulnerable children. Amelia found purpose in mentoring other survivors, offering guidance, and being a source of strength for those still on their healing journey. She understood the power of empathy and compassion, recognizing that no survivor should face their healing alone. The road to healing was challenging, marked by setbacks and moments of self-doubt. But Amelia and the survivors pressed on, knowing that their journey was not just for themselves, but for all those who had suffered in silence. Chapter 13: Legislative Reforms. Inspired by the survivors' stories and relentless advocacy, policymakers and activists turned their attention to enacting legislative reforms to address the systemic failures that allowed the grooming scandal to persist. Amelia and the survivors joined forces with lawmakers, working closely with them to draft and champion new legislation. They shared their personal experiences, providing crucial insights into the loopholes and deficiencies in existing laws. Their efforts bore fruit as comprehensive reforms were enacted. The new legislation focused on multiple fronts, including strengthening child protection measures, increasing penalties for offenders, and improving support systems for survivors. Amelia stood before the Legislative Assembly, sharing her story and urging lawmakers to prioritize the voices of survivors. Her impassioned plea resonated with the legislators, humanizing the issue and compelling them to take swift action. The reforms aimed to address the root causes of vulnerability, targeting social inequalities, educational gaps, and systemic failures in identifying and responding to child exploitation. They emphasized prevention, early intervention, and support for survivors throughout their healing journey. The survivors' voices carried weight in shaping these reforms, ensuring that the laws reflected their needs and concerns. Their experiences became a driving force for change, as lawmakers recognized the urgency to prevent future generations from enduring similar traumas. Amelia and the survivors celebrated the passage of the new legislation as a significant milestone, but they knew that implementation would be key. They continued to work closely with policymakers and NGOs to monitor the enforcement of the reforms and advocate for their effective implementation. The legislative reforms served as a beacon of hope for the survivors and a testament to their resilience and determination. They understood that the fight against exploitation was far from over, but they took solace in the knowledge that their voices had led to tangible change. Chapter 14: Closure and Reflection. Amelia stood at a crossroads, her journey of healing and advocacy reaching a critical juncture. As the legal battles concluded and legislative reforms took effect, she found herself faced with the opportunity for closure and reflection. She returned to the places that held painful memories, reclaiming them with newfound strength and resilience. Amelia confronted her past, allowing herself to grieve for the innocence that was stolen from her. She acknowledged the impact the abuse had on her life, but refused to let it define her. Surrounded by her fellow survivors, Amelia engaged in deep introspection. They shared stories of growth, resilience, and the personal triumphs they had achieved. Together, they celebrated their collective strength and the progress they had made in their healing journeys. Amelia realized that her advocacy work had evolved beyond seeking justice for herself. It had become a mission to create a better world for vulnerable children, to ensure that no child would suffer the same fate she and the other survivors had endured. She looked back at the path she had walked, acknowledging the challenges, setbacks, and moments of despair. But she also recognized the moments of triumph, the resilience that had carried her forward, and the unwavering support of those who believed in her. Amelia's reflection extended to the broader societal impact of the survivors' stories. The once shrouded issue of child exploitation had been thrust into the public consciousness, sparking conversations and driving change. The survivors had shattered the silence, igniting a movement that would leave a lasting impact. In the midst of closure and reflection, Amelia found hope. Hope for a future where vulnerable children would be protected, where their voices would be heard, and where the scars of the past would not define their destinies. As she looked toward the horizon, Amelia knew that her journey was far from over. There were still battles to be fought, injustices to be righted, and survivors to be uplifted. But she stood tall, fortified by her own resilience and the knowledge that her story had made a difference. Chapter 15: Hope for the Future. The novel concludes with a message of hope, emphasizing the importance of continued awareness, prevention, and support for survivors. Amelia stood before a crowd of supporters, survivors, and advocates, delivering a heartfelt speech. She spoke of the progress that had been made, the lives that had been touched, and the change that had been sparked. She expressed her gratitude to those who had stood by their side throughout the journey and acknowledged the collective strength that had propelled them forward. As Amelia looked out into the sea of faces, she saw a diverse and united community committed to creating a safer world for vulnerable children. It was a testament to the power of resilience, compassion, and the human spirit. The survivors had transformed their pain into purpose, turning their darkest moments into beacons of hope. They had shattered the silence, exposed the systemic failures, and demanded justice. They had proven that even in the face of adversity, change was possible. Amelia emphasized the importance of continued vigilance and advocacy. She urged everyone present to stay engaged, to support survivors, and to hold institutions accountable. She emphasized the need for comprehensive education and awareness programs to prevent future instances of exploitation. As the applause filled the air, Amelia felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She had found her voice, reclaimed her power, and made a difference. The journey had been arduous, but it had brought her to this moment of triumph. The novel ends with a sense of optimism for the future. Amelia and the survivors, alongside their allies and advocates, would continue their work. They would stand strong in the face of adversity, united in their commitment to protecting children and ensuring that no one would suffer in silence. As the curtain falls on their story, the readers are left with a profound appreciation for the strength of the human spirit, the power of resilience, and the transformative potential of collective action.